One of my goals on here was to have you on because I believe there's a kind of a hole within Christian circles, and I believe that Christianity, there's no ground that God doesn't touch. And so that's one of the point of this podcast is to say, hey, there's a lot of philosophy books out there that people are scared of, because if you hear philosophy, you think, oh, there's people with beards and polyester and tweed and what have you, and they're sitting on high and they're using words like oughts and is, and they're telling you that nothing is something. I'm saying no, that there's a lot of good stuff within these books where you might think, oh well, that's for somebody else. I need it really dumbed down, and so we're offering this podcast as a way to kind of have a book study, if you will, and say, let those two people do the heavy lifting because they read it and distill it down. And I feel that economics is one of those ones where other than a few points, there's R.C. Sproul Jr. has a book, and a few other people that have written about economics, but it seems to be more, in general statements. And I know that you are a full-fledged, a Protestant Christian, and your Christianity comes out within your writing, and so I appreciate that about you. In fact, the first time I emailed you, I heard about Dave Smith, the comic Dave Smith, who at the time was an atheist before he was a deist or whatever he is now, and he was giving you high praise as a Christian who was anti-war and had always been anti-war, and made good points as far as utilizing your Christian worldview to bolster up the fact that you were anti-war. It wasn't so much that it flowed out of your desire and then you filled in your Christianity to say, here's kind of the God of the gaps. The way that you live your life is as a Christian, and your podcast has that as well, as you're a Christian and an economist. And I think through living out your life in your work as well, you are proclaiming God's glory because of the truth that you're representing there. So I know that's a big intro there, but that's one of the reasons why I want to have you on, because I feel like that there's this kind of missing link between Christians and writing in non-theological areas like economics.
Oh, I mean, I obviously appreciate those words very much. And it's funny you say that because, I'm working on an episode of my podcast where I'm collecting more examples where I think I'm going to be kind of try to be funny about it. And like the title will be something like, libertarians, y'all need Jesus or something like that, because just to show, in certain areas where, and even Dave Smith recently, he had an episode, he was talking with his, sidekick Robbie, and things about like the ethics of, and he was making an analogy with the Matrix, and how in the Matrix, they say in the movie that, we're trying to rescue all these people, but until you get red pilled, you're actually the enemy.
Right.
And, and so of course, the movie, The Matrix, that means you can kill those people. I mean, Neo, and they go around Trinity, they waste a lot of people, not just the agents. And so, of course, I don't think that's correct. So anyway, just things like that where, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I made that point on our podcast recently, because we were talking about ethics and the fact that if you believe that we're in a simulation, does morality still exist there, and can you ground it? And if all people are just these people that are getting in the way, don't we have to address the fact that they are living people who aren't machines? If we're trying to bifurcate humanity versus the machines, it seems odd that they just say, well, they're in your way. So your example is perfect, because we talked about that just recently as well.
Yeah. So, and just to not mislead your listeners who didn't hear that, so I would have to go review it, of course, before I put it in my thing. But it wasn't that Dave said, so therefore anyone who's not a libertarian, you can get. But I mean, it did, leave open the idea of. In other words, I think there's a lot of libertarians who they pull away from it because I think their common sense or their basic morality kicks in, and they realize, but some of their arguments would mean technically, if you see someone with a Hillary bumper sticker, strictly speaking, they're aggressors and you can do whatever you know what I mean? And
right.
And I don't think that's correct. And so there's lots of areas like that where libertarian theory only takes you so far. And then you say, what's left? And it's like, well, as a Christian, I know, I have something that's more fundamental, and it's easy to answer those questions and you're not floundering around. Whereas if all you were really sure of was the non-aggression principle, that actually doesn't get you that far.